Hello again. It is Crew Call presented by Flow Racing, your digital home track and the home of NASCAR roots. We are so glad you have joined us as we go into the garage area and talk about NASCAR racing. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter from Motor Racing Network, joined as I am each and every week by 25-time winning crew chief, championship winning crew chief, Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm awesome.
I bet you are. Every week we come in here, you are awesome because you're not on a pit box anymore dealing with some of the stuff your former cohorts are dealing with.
I think I'm keeping my hair.
Yeah. Oh,
what's left of it? Boy,
gosh.
What chaos. What chaos. I mean, the first 4 races of playoffs, these guys have had to age 20 years.
This is insane. And we're going to the wild card. The wild card race is this coming week, but you wouldn't know it from the previous 4.
The first 4 were supposed to be just numb vanilla. They've been nothing but that. Now we're going to the wild card race.
Yeah.
Will it flip-flop? Will this one be vanilla? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. No, I don't think so. I don't think so this time. We got a lot of ground to cover, and we're going to talk to Paul Wolfe with Penske Racing. So I think we're going to get into a lot of the little what was going on at Texas with Paul to get his take on it as far as that goes. What we do know is that big picture, there's a lot going on, and you're one of those guys, you and I were just talking prior to going on the air, you are a strategy dissecting guy. You love I love strategy races. You dissect this strategy. And who saw Texas as one of those strategic races that Randall Burnett made the winning call on?
You wouldn't have thought so, but Randall Burnett actually made 2 great calls in the day. He obviously they had a vibration early, had to pit, went a lap down, coached his driver through. We're the only one lap down, just chill.
Right.
Next caution, got the lucky dog. Good fast race car, drove him back. Short pitted stage 2, which got him in a position to get back up in the top 5.
Right.
Took the lead from there. I really think Randall Burnett won the race at lap 245.
245.
That's when he came and got tires and fuel from the lead. He pitted from the lead and not in a position where he could finish the race. Knew he'd have to come again. I think that was one of those either ifs, but by doing that, he set himself up to take 2 tires because he only needed 6 or 7 gallons of fuel at the end, where the guys that didn't pit there needed 15, 16 gallons of fuel, 2 cans.
Right.
Had to have a long pit stop. Cycle himself to the front, drove away from there.
Worked a pit stop ahead to make that last pit stop quicker.
Yes. Yeah, it was a great strategy call. Talked to Randall this week on Monday night, and even talked about that. From when they had the vibration, they started thinking about how they were backing the race up all day long. It
amazes me. Yeah.
That's great strategy. And we wouldn't have thought Texas was a strategy race, but it sure was. And you saw that out of him. Justin Haley, 31 car.
No, they were saying
3rd place finish, same strategy.
Yep, absolutely.
Just got themselves where they could take a 2-tire stop at the end. That seeing ahead of where you are really paid off those guys.
No doubt, it really did. We kind of know the scenario with that 8 team. 3rd win of the season, 1st win on an oval. Been a great season, although eliminated from the playoffs in round number 1. When you look at the dynamic of that team and where they sit right now in September of 2022, okay, you have a marriage crew chief driver that is splitting up.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch is going to be with Randall Burnett. We don't know exactly what that looks like with Tyler yet. Maybe Tyler does, maybe he doesn't know. You have that, and you have the team getting eliminated from round 1 of the playoffs. To me, this is a scenario that can go one of 2 ways. The wheels can come off the train immediately, or it can go, as apparently it has gone, with the wheels staying on the train and continuing with fast race cars. I think that speaks volumes for Tyler. I think that speaks volumes for Randall as well, leading that team.
And it speaks for the relationship the two of them have really forged from the Xfinity days forward.
That's right.
They've had a lot of time together. They're friends. They see each other as really good, and they trust each other. You hear that out of it. Just the talk back and forth, the strategy calls, Tyler not second-guessing it, just trying to figure it out. Yeah, and he's talked at some point about, I really didn't understand what was going on, but I knew Randall had the right path, and he did. So these guys have put it together and done a really good job of continuing forward. I think, for both of them, that was their first Cup win at the beginning, at Road America.
Road America, right? Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I think, chemistry between the two of them, and hey, in the way the situation lays out right now, they're going to need to work together next year in some facet as teammates within our
same building. Yes, so exactly.
I think and it speaks for Tyler. Tyler's a pretty positive guy and isn't giving up on the program and the commitments he's made. So, really cool to see.
Yeah.
How about we haven't had a winner that locks themselves through the next round yet? Three non-playoff winners and an eliminated playoff car won this one. Just crazy where the race is.
That was I don't think I don't. I mean, obviously, it's never happened before. We've never seen this before, but I didn't even think that was possible. I mean, I know it's possible just because of the number of. Yeah, I mean, I know it's possible. I know the good teams, but it's just that's been absolutely crazy that one active playoff driver, hasn't snuck his way into victory lane yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Man,
I mean, in years past, this would have been all playoff drivers.
That's historically what it is, because you see those 16 teams and then those 12 teams and then those 8 teams. Even we go to Phoenix. A lot of times you go to Phoenix, those 4 teams have elevated themselves so much so that they're running 1 through 6, 1 through 5.
Yep.
This year, Lord knows. And I can't imagine what it continues to look like going forward.
It speaks for the parity of the common car.
Yeah.
And
really
the fact that back in my days, when you got the playoff stuff, we ramped up. There was more effort. I mean, you put a lot of effort in your cars, but all the details got a little bit finer.
Yeah.
And you would, as you had opportunities to win championships, I mean, let's from a dollars and cents standpoint, your car makes the playoffs. Your financial implications at the end of the year get better, right?
Absolutely.
Sponsorship money is tied to that.
Everything.
Charter money is tied to that. So there's more money coming in. So then you've got the opportunity that if there's this little thing that was small, and that may be in the budget now. And as you got closer to the championship,
the budget,
those opportunities got bigger. But there's not those things to do with a common car.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're not set up to see this all the way through the playoffs.
Wow. I mean, it's crazy. So
it'll be cool to see what Paul thinks of that.
It will be cool to see what he thinks of it. And we're going to Talladega, where anybody can. I mean, you know the Talladega story, and then we get the Roval after that.
Yeah, we could have our 20th and 21st winners.
You're absolutely right.
Crazy.
Not even a shocker if that would have happened.
No. I mean, I could put several people in this weekend, and Martin Truex Jr. was leading at the Roval when Jimmy Johnson spun out into him.
That's
Brian Blaney won it first
exactly.
one.
Yes. Yeah.
There's scenarios you could put together
where this continues.
Yes. Continues
absolutely.
along.
Continues with different winners, continues with non-playoff drivers winning.
Ryan Blaney won at the Roval.
Yeah.
He could win there.
Absolutely.
He might be the first playoff winner and the 21st win. It could be crazy. Stay tuned. It'll be great.
Stay tuned. That's what you need to do, is stay tuned. And we're going to talk to Paul Wolfe here in just a moment. You can subscribe to Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR roots. Catch Whelen Modifieds, ARCA Menard Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Racing Series action with over 1,300 events live and on demand. The headliners this week: Saturday, the ARCA Menard Series at Salem. Saturday, also the ARCA West Series at All-American Speedway. Weekly Racing, Langley, Meridian, and Evergreen, as the season is slowly winding down across the country. You can learn more at flowracing.com/GoMRN. That's flowracing.com/GoMRN. Stay with us. Paul Wolfe, he joins us next. Welcome back to Crew Call, presented by Flow Racing, the home of NASCAR roots. And let's go to Penske Racing. Joining us from Penske Racing, crew chief for Joey Logano, Paul Wolfe, joins us on the Zoom call. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm not bad, guys. Thanks for having me on today.
Not bad, I would think, is probably when you put the car in the trailer at Texas, you finish second, you come out of there leading the points. You got to feel pretty good about the survival nature of it and coming away in good shape out of that topsy-turvy race.
Yeah, it's always nice to start the first race of each round with a solid day. And, going in there, we thought if we could score, somewhere around 40 points, we would consider that a good day and put us in a good spot as we move to Talladega. Obviously, we scored a little more than that, and we saw a lot more playoff cars have trouble than maybe what you would expect. But I think seems like that's been the norm. I think when you look back at history and kind of how you lay out each round and what you think you need to do to make it through. And, typically we've always felt like that first round, and it's kind of one of those rounds where if you just execute and not make any mistakes, okay, now we'll make it to the round of 12. And it ramps up as you get get to each round and gets tougher. But geez, we're still, looking at how things have shaken out here. It's almost like, I don't even know if you have to win at this point. It's just don't have issues, and seems like you keep yourself in a good spot. So we had good speed in our car. I think that was the positive, that we saw. We had the Homestead test early in the week, our first chance in a while to really try some things and continue to understand the car a little more. And although Homestead, as you know, is quite a bit different mile and a half than what Texas is for a lot of reasons, some of the things that we learned at Homestead, we applied and they seem to work. So that was encouraging for sure. And I think will help as we continue to move into the next rounds, as we'll see Vegas and Homestead in that next round.
As you talked about or alluded to there, we haven't had a playoff winner yet, 4 races in, and that wouldn't have been something that we would have thought of in the past and historically. And you talked about you're not sure you got to win. How do you see the playoffs progressing at this point? How do you see this round playing out? How do you see the round of 8 playing out? Because in the past, we used to really feel like you had to win in the round of 8 to be there's 3 winners and a points guy. Not necessarily the picture we're going to see this year, is it?
I don't think so. And I think that just says a lot about, where we're at as a sport with this new car, how equal the playing field is. And you can't, it's very hard to pick a team or multiple teams that just seem to have speed every week. It really is surprising. I don't know how you can go one week and feel like you're in position to win and think you have it figured out. And then you show up the next week and struggle. And at least for us, and I don't know if it's this way for all the teams, but it's like that window of operation of where you have speed in the car, are able to make speed for us seems small. It's like it seems like small adjustments or little things can be the difference maker of running, in the top 5 and really contending for a win versus just struggling to run 15th. And I think that's just made it very hard for guys to be consistent and contend and get those wins. So I think you got to continue to try to figure out, obviously how to be better each week. But I don't know that formula to having to win is really going to be there until, maybe trying to make it to the Final Four. But I think at this point in the game, especially with Talladega, obviously the wild card and even the Roval to some extent, I think just trying to execute and put together solid races will get us to the next round. And I think building that points cushion a little bit like we did at Texas will help that as well.
Paul, I want to talk a little bit about Texas and what was going on down there. And this is so challenging because it's a very complex issue. There's so much going on with those race cars, and you're not one of the guys that had one of the problems with it. Is there a description in layman's terms and easy terms as to what some of the challenges, whether it's car, whether it's track, whatever it is, what are some of the challenges that you guys were all facing down there at Texas?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot, of course. I mean, Texas itself, no matter what kind of car you take, is challenging with the configuration, the 2 different ends, how you make the compromises, right, to get your car driving well on both ends of the racetrack to make speed. And then, obviously it was very high temps, track temp was up and those things are all challenges. And then I think just in general, we've continued to be on edge with the tire. I think we've all kind of learned, where the performance is, the lower air pressures and those types of things. And, as a competitor, it's very hard to lay up on those types of things when it's free speed there. And I think, everyone's right on edge. And when you're racing on edge like that, you're going to step over from time to time. And fortunately, we were able to make speed without seeing any failures. It's interesting, when you look a week prior to that with Bristol, and all of our cars had issues, right? And it's like different weeks, different companies are having those issues. And, we went from a disaster at Bristol with all of our cars to fortunately not seeing those issues at Texas. So, what do you do at this point? I think we're all trying to be smarter and find where that edge is without going over. But it's hard to do that when there's speed there.
Yeah.
Can you talk about all the factors that go into those decision makings? It's not just air pressure and camber with this new car, especially, is it?
No, and I think as you talk about Texas or tracks that have bumps in them or whatnot, with trying to run the car as low as possible, when you have those rougher racetracks, you're going to get into the shock limiters, our limiters that limit how much we can travel. So then at that point, then you start talking about, the spike loading in the tire and those types of things. And, we had issues at a Michigan tire test earlier this year. And then working through some of those things with Goodyear, I don't think anyone really, Goodyear tries to do lab testing and give us some parameters from a durability standpoint, but I don't know that they were really capturing a lot of that spike loading that we see when you're riding on the limiter. So I think as we continue to understand that, Goodyear can get smarter about their testing and give us, more information as well. So I think it's just a learning process for everyone. It's not just the team, but it's the people building the parts and manufacturing from the tires to the body panels and other issues we've seen with the car. I think it's obviously very important that we do our best to understand when there is an issue and try to speed this learning process up and continue to put a better product out there.
Yeah. I'm picking off of another part of your conversation, your mentions earlier. 2-day test at Homestead. What was it like to get back to a playoff track and get 2 days of testing at it when we don't even get 20 minutes of practice on a weekend?
No, and it's great, and it's something we obviously look forward to more than ever when you're trying to develop something. And the 1.5 miles, I wouldn't say have been our strength here. Early in the season, I think we had some speed, but then as we went through the summer, some of the bigger tracks, we were lacking speed, I would say. So to be able to have the opportunity to go to Homestead, not only to tune for Homestead, but like I said, as new as the car is, and it's so underdeveloped as it is, at least from our side, there's plenty of takeaways, even though Homestead is different from Texas and as Vegas, as we'll see here in a few weeks. So it's very important when you get those tests to make sure you're prepared and going to take something away from it. And we were able to do that. And I think it gives us, myself and the driver, confidence as we, finish out the season here that we found a little speed. I wouldn't say we're all the way there, but we were able to make a difference and move the needle. And, Joey's comments was, he's never in a season from race 1 to race 2 at a racetrack made that big of a gain, right? And that just goes to show how much we're still developing this car, that he could feel that significant of a change from race 1 to race 2 and how the car performed. So that was good. But now, now we're gonna go to Talladega, which we know that could be anyone's race, and definitely somewhere we've had speed. But how are we going to manage that race and try to stay out of trouble? It's very challenging, and we'll talk about it continuously until Sunday of how we're going to do that and what we think is our best strategy with where we're positioned right now. And then the Robles, like I said, it's still a bit of an unknown. So it's interesting to, I'm sure, for everyone to tune in every week because of all the unknowns, and you never know what to expect. And there's that side of it that definitely has got to make it very exciting.
Very exciting, that's for sure. Talladega, traditionally there's manufacturer-based racing, but I think about this, and when I look at the Ford camp where you guys are at, you talk about you went to Texas, you wanted to get 40 points, so you're looking at stage points where some of the other Ford teams probably could care less about stage points. How does that factor in as you look at a strategy going into this weekend's race?
It's a big part of it. And we've continued to work together as Ford, as one Ford. We meet and try to understand what everyone's objective is. Where you talk about some guys needing stage points and some not. So I think everyone's out there to worry about themselves, but I think being mindful of the situations of your other Ford teammates. We try to manage that the best we can, and if they can help guys out that need stage points, we will. But we all know when it comes down to the end, the goal is for certain cars that they have to win, right? Or that's their main objective. And for some others, maybe it's not. So you hope you can work together and repay the favors as the race unfolds, and guys. I guess getting what they need out of the day to move forward through the playoffs, and that's ultimately what we'll do. I think the racing's obviously different this year with this car and how the draft works and those types of things. So although we still make plans to pit together and those types of things, here lately it seems like all the manufacturers have kind of been on the same strategy and within a few laps, and it makes that pitting sometimes a little more hectic with cars on pit roads. So trying to limit that to not have issues with too many guys on pit road is definitely something I think we try to focus on.
Do you think that this car has made it harder for the manufacturers to kind of organize themselves, or is it the racing and the number of cautions that we've had that's kind of driven it to be more pack oriented?
Yeah, it may be a little of both, Todd. It's hard to say. I mean, the wake with this car is much smaller, and being able to stay in the draft and the amount of cars it takes to make speed, all those factors are just a little bit different. And I think the drivers, we've run three races. I guess if you want to throw out Atlanta, it's kind of its own animal, I feel like. But Daytona twice and Talladega once so far. I think from a driving perspective and the draft and all that, I would assume the drivers are still continuing to learn a lot themselves as we are from a car standpoint. So. Yeah, it's really hard to say at this point what exactly it takes, but I would say trying to stay out of trouble, that hasn't changed. That's still typical speedway racing, and I don't know where the safe place is. We've continued to try to be up front and run up front, but we've been wrecked up there leading as well. So. It makes it tough to come up with a great strategy, but we'll definitely do our best and see how it plays out.
I don't remember the number that somebody told me, but it was an astronomical number of the cautions that had come from the first two rows this year in speedway racing. And as you talked about, Atlanta's kind of its own creature. The straightaways are shorter there. Doesn't seem like to be able to bump draft and things like that. You're pack racing, but you're not long enough to really help. Talladega is the longest straightaways you've got, so I would think this is almost its own creature in that respect because you've got more opportunity to push each other before you get to corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you talk about the pushing and shoving, I mean, that's something that just from working with Joey in the past that he really keys off from, and that's how does the car take pushes on the straightaway and those types of things. we focus, on that as much as how it drives through the corner, right? So we've talked a little bit, and we'll have our meeting here a little later today. But how much are we willing to sacrifice maybe a little bit of speed at this point to be, have a car that's maybe a little more stable, because that's ultimately how these wrecks happen, right? It's the pushing and shoving is when it gets guys turned around. So, or how much are we willing to work on that to give up on speed and just kind of maybe play it a little safer with the position we're in, the points that we do have currently. So those are all the tough decisions and things we look at as we focus on Talladega this week.
Yeah, no doubt. Leading the points, so you're in a good spot. How do you come out of Talladega? Maintaining a good spot. That's the challenge for sure. Paul, I want to go off track with you before we cut you loose here. I think we talked about it last time you joined us, or last year maybe. Your son Caden racing karts. Is he still doing that? And how's you're a racer? How's the next generation of Wolfe racing going?
Yeah, he's still doing it. Mom's really had to learn how to manage all that. Unfortunately, I don't get to spend as much time as I want and be there on race day for him. But it's good. It's challenging how to manage all that and set the expectations. That's probably been the hardest part for me, is trying to take off the crew chief hat and realize that we're racing go-karts, not cup cars.
Well, he's supposed to win every race, right?
This is true, Todd, and that's the challenge. But Mom spends a lot of time at the go-kart track with him. But it's going well, and it's fun to see him grow and how he manages that and the competition and those types of things. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's costs a lot of money too. Understand the owners. We're just raising a go-kart here and trying to understand a budget. It's crazy at all levels of racing, but it's good, and I enjoy seeing him do it.
So did I hear that somebody might have mismanaged the tires at one point?
Well, there can always be some mismanagement somewhere along the line, but yeah, it's all part of it, Todd, and we'll try to keep them on track.
That's funny. That's your son, Haley, your daughter. Is she into the racing, or what's she into?
We're not sure what she's into yet. She's a good supporter of her brother. I think she's still trying to figure out. I mean, I still have his very first go-kart, what he started in kid karts, and she keeps threatening me that she wants to go out there too, but I'm not sure I can handle both of them out there right now.
From a dad point or from a financial point, right?
Yes, both, Todd.
or from a husband point. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. One mom being two crew chiefs.
Yes,
right?
mom being one crew chief is asking a lot. Mom being two crew chiefs might be. Yeah. That is great stuff. Paul, we always appreciate your insight, whether it's here on Crew Call or in the garage areas we get a chance to chat. We appreciate you breaking down some things here for us and joining us here today on the program.
Yeah, no, it's been fun, guys. I appreciate you having me on, and we'll talk again soon.
There we go.
Right.
That's
Thanks,
Paul Wolfe, crew chief for Joey Logano up at Penske Racing. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Welcome back. It is Crew Call presented by Flow Racing, the home of NASCAR roots. And we are so glad you joined us. Todd Gordon and Steve Post. And man, I love picking Paul Wolfe's brain. Boy, he is a smart guy. Just a smart guy. You used to work in an office next door to him.
I could pick his brain 10 years ago.
Yeah, you got to pick his brain 10 years ago. Really, really smart guy. And I think the other thing is he's like, for a radio guy like me, he explains things really well in layman's terms, but really enjoyed talking with him.
Yeah, great interview, great insight. A lot of things. I wouldn't have thought that Homestead test could apply to Texas, but with this new car, everything is new, right? That's an opportunity to just learn about your program. And, it'd be interesting to see where that goes forward. I've won a few races with Joey at Speedway races. He's pretty darn good at it. Sounds like they're on that path. Nobody's comfortable right now. Yeah. I mean, even with a 30, whatever it is, we'll see where it all falls out with appeals and all that. But even leading the points, I don't know that you're comfortable. As he talked about, if you don't score stage points, you can be wrecked on the last lap and finish 30th. It'd be fun to watch. Yeah, fun to watch. Really Great interview though.
The only crew chief I know that's comfortable is you.
Yes,
you're no longer. I really. This year has been fascinating. I think the other thing is that some of these issues are manufacturer team issues. Like you said, we all had problems at Bristol, and then we didn't have problems here. You look at some of the issues that Toyota. You look. Some of these situations have been very manufacturer or even team centric issues as well.
Yes, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that everything's new.
Yeah,
including the tire. We went from a 15-inch tire with a tall sidewall on it.
Right.
The circumference of the tire this year is the same as what we had last year. So we have an 18-inch wheel. Right. It just means that the sidewall got shortened up by that much. Yeah. So it's just, I know from my history, I knew where the limits were. I knew what to look for in a tire. We'd actually, after practice, cut a 1-inch strip of the tire, the sidewall and tire carcass out and go inspect how the belt packages work together. There's no notebook for this tire. Yeah. So to the point, you've just got data out of a lab someplace. And last week at Bristol, first time we've raced at Bristol, first time we've had that amount of load, the assumptions that certain teams, Team Penske had issues with it, as Paul talked about. The assumptions of where they could be in the box was outside of the box. And I think this week you had other teams that their assumptions of where they could be in the box. And as Paul talked about, there's speed in those things. It's hard to lay up on speed.
Right, yeah.
But you've got to find that risk-reward balance.
Right. In big picture, layman's terms, what we're asking the tire to do is be the shock absorber in places.
The shock absorber and the spring, especially when it's down.
Both. So we're asking the tire to do
both.
that.
Yes.
We're asking the tire to do that, and that's where we're running into some problems.
Yes, because I said it Monday night on my program, but to the truck driver, crew out there, it'd be like dumping the airbags on the trailer and just running down the road because you got no suspension sitting on. You're forcing the tire to do all of it, and you do that, you're going to have blown tires. Right. So we're asking when you sit down on that. He talked about the shock limiters, and
the shock limiters.
The actual shock bottoms out.
Right.
There's a little 1/8 of an inch piece of neoprene inside that thing, but for all purposes, it's more rigid than coil binding springs in the back with the old car. It's really stiff. So when it sits down on that, the diffuser's closer to the ground. It makes way more downforce.
So you try to get that diffuser with the air pressure or with the tire.
Yeah, you can run lower air pressure. The tire squishes more. The diffuser gets lower. It makes more downforce. The sensitivity of the diffuser to ground location, 1/8 of an inch is a huge change in downforce.
So it's that sensitivity of the diffuser. That means you need to lower the car down.
So you're going to run the back as low as you can, and that means you're going to hit that shock limiter at times.
So when you hit that shock limiter,
and then when you're on that, it's like, well, if I let air pressure out, that'll get me lower yet. Yeah. So there's a lot of speed out there that just has a bigger risk with it, and that's what we're finding right now. Is that there's where you find that balance.
You got that dice in your hand. How you gonna roll those dice?
Yeah,
with that air pressure. Once you get to the shock limiter, then the next thing you look at is
tires. And it's not. I wouldn't say it's a Goodyear issue.
No,
because unless we put forklift tires that have no air in them.
Right. The old solid hard rubber wheelbarrow tire.
I don't know what we do there. Obviously, Goodyear's working on durability and will continue as they always have. But they've made steps on it. But here was a situation, and on top of that, at Texas, we went through a rain and lightning delay.
Well, there's that,
and the pace picked up another 0.6 of a second,
which means more load.
Which is more load. It's more speed in the middle of that speed. That time comes from going through the corners faster, not the straightaway faster.
Yeah.
So. It's just more load. So there's so many pieces that played into this weekend at Texas, and
that's where I get frustrated when we try to pinpoint Goodyear needs to do this or crew chiefs need to do this or there's about 16 variables that go into this, and it's that formula that needs to all work together to work well.
Yeah, in the grand scope of things, and We had 220 sets of tires go on this weekend, and 8 cars had failures.
Right.
So it's not like every tire failed.
No, yeah.
And it seemed to be kind of clustered, kind of like Bristol was,
Right.
where it wasn't like Goodyear had a right front tire failure or issue. It seemed like the Ford cars had a right front tire. In here, we had certain cars that had issues.
Seemed like the fast cars had it here.
Yeah, and to the point, when you get
to the point,
later, the leader has the most downforce because they've got the cleanest air.
So there's
that's more load.
Which is
I just like
it's not it's easy to just pinpoint one piece.
Yeah.
And that's our society this day.
Yes.
It's black or white. There's a whole lot of gray.
Yes.
We want Goodyear to fix this problem so it never happens again. There's so much more going on, and that's what I'm most fascinated. That's why I love getting a chance to talk to you guys like Paul, because it just makes me understand that there's a lot of things happening here.
It's not. I mean, they talk about it, but these crew chiefs, it's 24/7.
Yeah,
your mind's always going and playing over. And what you thought on Monday, that's always the fun part too. Is I could be that aggressive on Monday, and by Tuesday it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to be quite that aggressive. Yeah. By the time you get to race time, you're like, man, I was pretty gutsy on Monday. It's like you have to continually play that risk versus reward, and see where it goes. Paul did a great job. Came out a second place finish.
Yeah,
and I mentioned Justin Haley with a 31 and Randall Burnett, but Paul made that same call. Came at 245, put himself in a position to take 2 tires. Paul's really good at the strategy side of things, and a lot of things, but he gets that too. Well, guys do a great job. It'd be fun to watch what they do.
Man, going to be fun to watch. And Talladega this weekend. Motor Racing Network will be there all weekend long. Our coverage starts at 10:30 Eastern Time on Saturday morning. Pole qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series. Noon Eastern Time, the Chevy Silverado 250 for the Truck Series. And 3:30, the Sparks 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Sunday, our airtime, 1 o'clock Eastern Time from Talladega. We do know that the hurricane is rolling through the south. So those watching this, we're recording this on Wednesday. Those of you watching this, obviously in the southeast, we certainly wish you the best and safety as we roll through this. And selfishly, we'll see what happens as far as racing this weekend at Talladega goes. As the weekend goes on, things get better. So fingers crossed, we'll get in there and get out of there safely is the biggest thing, and on our way. So we'll see what happens. But Motor Racing Network has you covered all along the way. This has been Crew Call, presented by Flow Racing, the ultimate digital home track. Race fans everywhere, whether it's dirt, asphalt, drag strip, road racing. You can find out more at flowracing.com/GoMRN. We appreciate Paul Wolfe joining us here on the program. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. Thank you for joining us here on Crew Call, presented by Flow Racing.